Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much once again for streaming with us here in the 3 p.m. hour. I'm Tom Haines. Thanks for joining us on Fox Local, our YouTube channel, and on the radio if you're listening, 107.9 HD2 FM. It has been a busy week of news. Today, no exception as we come to you live from the Fox 5 newsroom. I'm joined by Eric Perry, who's been following, Eric, really a heartbreaking story.
Yeah.
A family waiting for the ashes of their mother to arrive from Germany, and they never got here. What happened with this story, and where are the ashes this afternoon?
That's really the big question. She doesn't know where the ashes are, so walking you through a lot of this. So Petra McDonald, her parents live in Germany. Mom died back in May, unfortunately. Dad still lives there in Germany. He's almost 80 years old. So the family made a decision that because Dad is up there in the age, they would ship the mom's cremated remains here to the daughters. So when the dad does pass, he will also be cremated, shipped here as well so they can be together. The remains have yet to be received. They came in here, let's walk you through this timeline here, went through DHL once leaving. These are some images of the urn there that was supposed to be shipped there. Went through DHL, got here in Miami back on June 9th, then went from Miami to Gastonia, North Carolina, June 12th, went to Atlanta, Cartersville, June 13th, stayed there until June 15th, then went back to Miami, back to Atlanta, Nashville on the 22nd, and then Indianapolis on June 24th. And that is the last time that it has been scanned in or out at a facility there. A lot of questions, we were talking earlier, is why use USPS for something like this, especially with your loved one?
That was my question to you. Why would you ship remains via USPS? To which you said
she has no choice. So federally, the USPS is the only carrier that's authorized to ship any type of remains, cremations, urns, that type of thing.
So they were really at their mercy.
At their mercy. She didn't have the funds to go over $3,000. She said it was around the ticket. She just didn't have the money to go to Germany, get the remains, and take it back on a plane there as well.
Yeah.
So she's really left at the mercy USPS. She lives in Carrollton, so I went down there earlier today. I want you to listen to our conversation a little bit about what she's going through, what she's experienced, and what she wants moving forward.
Seen the pictures as well, and the address wasn't legible, and he had to research the funeral home address. So I pulled up the pictures on my email and sent them to him and said, this is clearly legible. And there's clearly a sticker on there that says urn human ashes. It's absolutely horrible. It's heartbreaking. This is my mom. It's not an item from Amazon or a t-shirt. It's disrespectful of the postal service to treat human remains like that. It is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, imagine your mother being in a package, taking the grand tour of the United States instead of being with you where she belongs.
All right, so we did that interview. In the background is the funeral home because you can't send remains directly to a person. They have to go to a funeral home, and then you have to pick it up there. And so that funeral home was the address listed on that. And I think in the video we showed labels. So someone was gracious enough at one of those many facilities to take a picture of it being scanned in, so you see the label.
So this is everywhere it's been?
Everywhere it's been. Again, over some of those places hitting twice. It went to Atlanta twice, Miami twice, Nashville twice before ending up in Indianapolis. And so the last thing on June 30th, it says in transit to the next facility, but it doesn't say what that next facility is.
Well, first of all, your heart goes out to this family, and we hope that those ashes arrive soon. But one can only remember our own Senator John Ossoff grilling the head of the United States Postal Service, whether it's ashes or anything. A lot of things simply aren't arriving at people's homes.
Yeah.
And this is no exception.
And I told her, she reached out to Senator Warnock, and I told her to reach out to also the Ossoff's office as well. He's been working on this, so I think that's what she's doing next. And of course, we reached out to USPS. We're waiting on some sort of statement, especially since we have that tracking number. We can see that it has not made it to its destination and that there's been no movement since June 30th. And here we are, middle of August. And she just wants her mom to be at peace, and she hasn't even told her dad. So the dad doesn't know that the remains are lost. They think it might be too much for him to take. They've been married for over 50 years. So a lot of pieces coming together, but hopefully the goal here is to find her mother's remains.
Yeah, hopefully they arrive. She can spare her father the grief of knowing that the remains of his wife and her mother are lost. Hopefully they turn up. Eric, please keep us posted.
Will do.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Moving on now here at the 3 o'clock hour from the Fox 5 newsroom in our streaming center. A couple of years ago, 2 Douglas County teenagers were murdered. This happened at a Sweet 16 party. In all, 4 suspects were arrested. A couple of them got some serious jail time, but not Chance McDowell. He was able to take a plea deal on some lesser charges, but he's in trouble with the law again. Kevin Stewart joins us now. Kevin, what did he do to get himself in trouble once again with the law? You would have thought he would have learned the first time around.
That's what family of the victims say. Let's rewind the clock to give you some perspective on this. Chance McDowell did get time served on an obstruction charge, 12 months served. That's when the murder charge was dropped, and the families weren't happy about that. No big surprise there. And now they're saying, here we go again. I want to take you inside the Douglas County Courthouse this morning. This is Magistrate Court this morning. This is where McDowell heard his charges, a gun charge. He was found with a Glock, according to investigators, drug charges after investigators say they found mushroom-infused chocolate bars at a home and marijuana on an undercover buy at a gas station. Prosecutors allege this is also tied to street gang activity, so he's got gang charges too. Back in 2023, you may remember the Sweet 16 mass shooting that injured a number of kids and took the lives of Samuel Moon and Anjanae Hill was tied to gang activity. The victims were innocent bystanders. Hill's mom is stunned and frustrated by this latest development. Take a listen.
I allowed you to come out and you did absolutely nothing with your life. So now you're facing gang charges once again, drugs.
All right, right now you're looking at the entrance of the Douglas County Jail. That's where the suspect remains right now. His case has been bonded over to Superior Court, where he'll have another hearing tomorrow. So we'll hear next steps. Prosecutors say, hey, he's got to stay in here with no bond. Of course, we will keep following on this story because it's just a really odd and tragic story. Tom?
Can the judge go back, Kevin, and connect all of these, or is he facing this charge independently of what else has happened to this young man?
Yeah, completely independent. This is an entirely separate case. He is cleared when he got out, more than a year ago on time served. He walked away a free man, wasn't even on probation. The judge today, during today's first appearance, asked him a series of questions, which is standard operating procedure, and asked, is he on probation? And he said no. And as you heard just a moment ago, the family's pretty upset about this.
Well, you can't blame them. I mean, 2 teens murdered, a bunch of kids get in trouble. The parents of these teens hope that these people have learned their lesson and don't get in trouble again. And then now this for Chance McDowell.
It is sad because, obviously innocent until proven guilty, but just to be caught up in this, as the family said, you got another chance. My child didn't get a second chance.
Well said. Kevin Stewart with the update there from Douglas County. Kevin, thanks. We have a very sad update on a story that we talked to you about here yesterday on the 3 p.m. hour about a woman in Union City who'd been viciously attacked by 4 dogs. We spoke to her son yesterday, who was praying for her recovery as she lay in the hospital there. Our reporter who was covering this story, Brittany Edney, said that these pictures that the son provided to Fox 5 were some of the most gruesome that she'd ever seen in her reporting career, in her lifetime for that matter. We just learned that 62-year-old Donna Wynn, who was in critical condition at Grady Memorial Hospital, her injuries so bad that she was in the burn unit, has died. The dogs apparently removed from the owner's home by animal control and by Union City Police. They're now investigating the incident, but now Wynn's family, as you can imagine, and her devastated son are seeking justice and accountability. They want the owner of these dogs accountable for their alleged actions. And that photo of Donna Wynn, this 62-year-old attack victim, is just devastating and heartbreaking. But the news today, the sad news, is that she passed away this afternoon, just before we went on the air here at 3 at Grady Memorial Hospital. On to another big story that affects all of us today, and that one is happening in Washington, D.C., where President Trump is set to leave at any moment now for Alaska for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This has been billed as a summit, and the goal here is to end the war in Ukraine. But will that be the outcome of that summit? The president meeting with European leaders earlier this week to discuss the terms of any agreement that he might reach with the Russian president. This is a high-stakes game of chess, as President Trump characterized it earlier today. Just before we went on with you here, the president held a bit of a briefing in the Oval Office and took some questions from reporters about the summit, which is happening tomorrow.
What I'm really doing this for is to save thousands of soldiers a week. You have Russian soldiers, you have Ukrainian soldiers, and then you'll have missiles dropped into various cities and towns in Ukraine. And they're losing last week they lost 7,251 people, mostly soldiers, Russian and Ukrainian soldiers. I'm doing it for that reason. We have a meeting with President Putin tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good meeting, but the more important meeting will be the second meeting that we're having. We're going to have a meeting with President Putin, President Zelensky, myself, and maybe we'll bring some of the European leaders along, maybe not. I don't know that it's going to be very important. We're going to see what happens. And I think President Putin will make peace. I think President Zelensky will make peace. We'll see if they can get along. And if they can, it'll be great. You know, I've solved 6 wars in the last 6 months, a little more than 6 months now, and I'm very proud of it. I thought the easiest one would be this one. It's actually the most difficult. We had one war raging, as you know, for 37 years. One in the Congo with Rwanda was raging for 31 years. We solved 6 of them, made peace, not just solved them, we made peace. If you look at Pakistan and India, that was, planes were being knocked out of the air. 6 or 7 planes came down. They were ready to go. Maybe nuclear, we solved that. I thought this would be maybe an easier one. It never made sense, this war. It would have never happened when I was president. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But millions of people have been killed. And I'm there for one reason, to see if I can solve. This was Biden's war. This isn't my war. I want to see if I can stop the killing. Yeah.
Rare earths, do you plan to offer him access to that at all?
We have great rare earth. We made that as payment for all of the money that we've spent so foolishly in Ukraine. We spent $350 billion. Now, Europe spent $1 billion. That's a lot of money. They spent $100 billion. That's a lot of money. But we shouldn't be spending a lot more money than them, and they understand that. And I think that's maybe why we're not spending money anymore. We're not spending any money. They're paying us for everything. So people are shocked when they hear it. They don't even understand. They don't even write about it. But we're not spending money, but we are spending a lot of time trying to get the war solved. If we can get the war solved, we'll be very happy. As far as rare earth, that's very unimportant relative. I'm trying to save lives.
All right, that was President Trump just moments ago, right before we joined you here in the 3 p.m. streaming hour from the Oval Office, talking about his summit meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska. The president getting set to depart Washington for that meeting, which is scheduled to happen tomorrow. The president says he just wants to end the killing and the war, for that matter, that's been raging in Ukraine for the past few years, speaking to European leaders, laying out sort of a framework of what they would agree to coming out of this summit. So, of course, we'll continue to stay on top of that situation unfolding in Washington. I want to give a shout out to our YouTube viewers, folks that are watching us on the YouTube channel right now, specifically Howard, Dwight, and Dorothy, loyal viewers of ours, to say thank you. And if you're listening on the radio, 107.9 HD2 FM, we appreciate that as well. And of course, on the Fox Local streaming app, whether you're on your phone or you're at home, welcome into the Fox 5 Newsroom. I'm Tom Haines. Coming up here after the break, we're going to talk about the weather. We're encroaching on the weekend here, and the question is, are we finally going to kick out some of these clouds that have been with us really all week long? Also, a story out of Fulton County where a man is facing charges for murdering an off-duty Fulton County police officer. We're on verdict watch. Court is in session right now, and our Deidre Dukes is there. We're going to check in with her live coming up right after the break. Yeah. Hit take. Okay. Welcome back to the Fox 5 Newsroom. Thanks so much for streaming with us. I'm Tom Haines. We're spending the next hour here getting you caught up on today's top stories. It's been a busy week here in the Fox 5 Newsroom. We're going to turn now to the weather and this sort of tropical system that we've been caught in for the good part of this week. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacy in the Fox 5 Storm Center. Jonathan, we're really looking to get rid of like these clouds and the humidity, maybe the clouds part, certainly not the heat and humidity though.
Yeah, I think we're going to bring in a little bit more sunshine as we get into the weekend, but today's a bit of a trick because tomorrow we're going to turn things back to a more stormier pattern, but it's only temporary before what will be a warm and potentially humid weekend, but there's a part of the weekend that may feel better than another part of the weekend. So we'll try to break all this down and make it make sense. But right now, this is what is before us, the combination of heat and humidity, making it feel like it is 97 degrees in Atlanta. The mercury has finally hit 90 degrees. Elsewhere, you have feels like numbers that are in the 90s, 92 there in Clayton, Gainesville. Go out to Eaton, feeling like 101. Carrollton's the place I'd rather be. 88 for a feels like number. Look at the radar, Tom. There's nothing that I can find here. In fact, I'm going to switch you over to Fox 5 Live Viper radar, and literally the radar has gone to sleep. There are a couple cells up here just over Oconee County, South Carolina, going into the upstate of South Carolina, and then a small little shower there in what appears to be, Dawson County. Other than that, nothing. We are in a pretty calm and quiet pattern, but it's not going to last long. A couple cells may try to burst out along the South Carolina-Georgia state line as we get deeper into the day. Around 8 o'clock, the sun's going down. You may be hit with a shower or sprinkle or two. A couple of those are going to roll through potentially Oglethorpe County, going down to Athens, getting into Clark, Oconee counties. But by and large, they come to pass. They're here for a moment and then they're out. We all go to bed tonight. Temperatures dropping down in the 70s, 73 degrees in Atlanta, 72 Rome, 73 in Covington, and then we flip the script for tomorrow. So Thunderstorms took the day off today. Tomorrow they are back. Look at your chances by this time tomorrow, climbing from 20 to 40%. And then we'll also have the stifling heat and humidity to go along with it. So a typical summer-like day. Today is more of the abnormality than tomorrow will be. So we'll look for a high of 92 in the city, 94 Covington. And this is how we'll do things. Today, once again, relatively benign. Tomorrow starts off okay. In fact, tomorrow, Tom, you may actually start out with some sun in the mornings. How about that? Instead of a thick blanket of clouds. But clouds will rush in, and by 3 o'clock this time tomorrow, so about 24 hours from now, we're going to start really throwing those storms out there. So if you have Friday night plans, don't cancel anything, because what comes is not going to last forever, but it will certainly be disruptive. But I like the way the forecast is trending. We just got to get through this blip known as Friday, widely scattered showers and storms, and then we get into the isolated category, and this trend sticks around certainly through the weekend into early next weekend, and the rain chances are going up slightly by next Thursday. So here's a sneak preview. This is why you watch Fox Local, because you get your forecast before everybody else does. Look at this, 92 degrees. I've already worked this out, giving you a 40% shot for showers. I'm going to hold off on throwing 40 percentile range really all the way through the next week to come. Next time I see it again is on Thursday, and that's when temperatures start to back off a bit. So generally, things are starting to look a bit better in terms of how the skies look. Feeling better? I don't think so much.
Not so much,
Yeah,
right, Jonathan?
Not so much,
Yeah, I was talking to Alex yesterday, meteorologist Alex Forbes, about, you know, when you open the windows in the morning, you like to see the sunshine, but that hasn't been the case for as long as I can remember at this point.
Yeah, it really helps, and especially now, because I think it's all a bit illusional. We're starting to really get rid of some minutes on the back end of the day, and the sun is starting to set earlier. So as we get closer into that 7 o'clock hour, it would be nice to capitalize on some sunshine during the first part of the day. But this is classic. Whenever you have a lot of moisture in the air, there's not a lot of cooling overnight. High temperatures in the day in the 90s. Overnight, we're only dropping down into the 70s. You're going to either get some low clouds or you're going to have some fog out there, especially if it rained the day before. So this is typical, but it would just be nice to have a little brightness to help us get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, and you open that garage door and it's really hot inside there. As we look out sort of long term, because we like to consider the big picture too. We're kind of stuck in the 90s there. We're nearing the back end of August. We're going to start going into September here shortly. When do things start kind of breaking and kind of going down into the 80s and cooling off?
Yeah, you're saying, when are we going to, that normal high of 90 degrees, when are we going to start to subtract?
Yeah.
That subtraction begins, I think, is next week. I'll have to check the data, but David Chandler is really good. He knows when we hit that 90 point and when we start coming down. But I believe it's next week around, the 15th is, no, that's tomorrow. So I think it's the 15th that we start trending down. So these numbers that you see right here, this string here, this is above average. Now, by a degree or two, but considering that, you know, we have had this sampling of fall at the beginning of the month, it would be nice to kind of reclaim that, but we need to reclaim it appropriately. Can I show you this, Tom, really quick?
Sure, yeah.
Where will Aaron go? And that is another big topic in the weather world. So we have two big areas of high pressure. Aaron has to find a path between the two. This high that's going to come for us this weekend, while the reason why we're going to be dry, is going to keep the storm from making a further conclusion. I'm trying to get my words out, to the east or to the west. So it's going to make a path between here and Bermuda. And as it does, what is our main concern? Well, high surf. Anywhere from the coast of the Carolinas, possibly the coast of Florida, the Atlantic coast specifically, but we'll be looking at anywhere from, I'd say, the border belt, even Charleston potentially, but definitely as you get into Myrtle Beach, all the way up through Wilmington, into the Outer Banks, that's where we're going to find some high surf. Therefore, is an elevated risk for rip currents as we get into the middle of next week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be looking for that pass by. The storm is going to stay likely at this point, based on the modeling, at least 200 miles to our east, which is great news.
Yeah.
But if you do have plans to go to the beach or something like that, just keep it in mind that the waters are going to be choppy and it may be a bit cloudier than you'd like.
But it's been kind of a quiet tropical season though,
It has.
thus far.
In fact, we're waiting on Aaron to become the first hurricane of the season.
Wow.
All of the modeling is definitely pointing to that. There's no doubt about it. But that's still about 24 hours away, 36
and
hours
we got
away.
a good bit left of hurricane season to go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we do. And peak season is really September 10th to be exact. So, you know, as we get closer to that date, I expect the activity to really pick up. At this point, we tend to refer to them by the letters. So once you get into the J's and the I's and the K's, that's when stuff gets a bit more serious.
I remember
These are
covering
just
them
the
from
E's,
my
yeah.
Florida days.
You know them
Boy,
all too well.
They are no fun.
They are all too well.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
thanks. We're going to shift gears now here on Fox Local. Thanks again so much for streaming with us this afternoon here in the 3 p.m. hour. The man accused of murdering off-duty Fulton County deputy will soon learn his fate. We are on verdict watch, and we're talking about Alton Oliver, who's accused of shooting James Thomas Jr. This happened back in 2022. Deidre Duke's here joining us now. You're at the Fulton County Courthouse, Deidre. What are you hearing now from inside the courtroom?
Well, the jury got the case just before 2 o'clock this afternoon. And then about an hour ago, the jury did ask the judge if they could ask a question. They wanted to see some more evidence in the case. So they were brought back into the courtroom, and they did, in fact, have the opportunity to review some video, some police video, an interview with one of the co-workers of the defendant, the police interviewing them, asking questions about the defendant. Now, both the defendants and the prosecutors did present their closing arguments today. The defense attorney painting the defense as the victim in this case, saying that he acted in self-defense when the defense attorney said the gentleman who was killed, the deputy, when he, they say, propositioned the defendant in this case. Now, we're told this all occurred on Bolton Road at around 4:30 on the morning of December 22nd. We are told that the deputy was off duty. He approached the defendant in his car. The defendant was walking home from work. That is when they say that he, on 3 separate occasions, drove by the defendant asking him for sexual favors. We are told that each time the defendant declined, and then the defendant testified yesterday that the deputy made his way around a 3rd time, was very aggressive, and it was at that point that the defendant claimed he opened fire on the car, saying at that time that he did not realize that he hit anyone. But the defense attorney representing him in closing arguments did say today that he, in fact, was in fear for his life. Here's what she had to say.
December 29th, 2022, Mr. Thomas
Can you all fix that mix minus, please?
To go hunting. He left his house to go prey on someone. That this predator was out there preying. And just like in nature, my client chose fight. And just like in nature, and on that day he chose himself. I too am asking you on this day to choose him and find him not guilty of every single charge.
So the defense attorney was the first to make her closing arguments today, followed by a prosecuting attorney who said that the defense's account of what happened, it just did not add up. While the defendant did say that he was not aware that he struck someone, he did go home, left the scene after the shooting, and he did, Tom, tell his sister that he needed an attorney. And so that was during cross when that information came out yesterday, that he did not remain on scene, even though he says he was not aware at that time that he actually did strike and kill someone when he opened fire on that vehicle.
Yeah, and something that's unusual in among defendants anyway in these kinds of trials, Alton Oliver, am I right in that he took the stand in his own defense to describe what he says happened in this so-called altercation, according to the defendant?
Yeah, that's right. He actually took the stand in his own defense yesterday, which we do not see a lot when we're dealing with these
Yeah.
murder cases. But he did take the stand in his own defense. And even though he testified that he did act in self defense, the prosecuting attorney did say today in his closing arguments that there were just a lot of holes in his story. And Tom, here's more of what he had to say about that.
Animal. He was a human being. He was a son. He was a brother. And he deserved respect, and he deserved the right not to have to be 6 feet under the ground. And that's what he took from them when he used excessive force. And your verdict, that truth of guilty, gives not just justice to James, it gives peace, finally, after all of these years, to that family.
Oliver's attorney did say that her client has a clean record, has never been in trouble, and did cooperate with investigators. But once again, prosecution saying that he told us several different stories and that the stories that he did tell just did not hold up. Tom?
Deidre, in these kinds of cases that involve officers, usually there's a huge outpouring of support from fellow officers. Is this the case? I know he was off duty at the time, but do you see a big presence of fellow law enforcement there in Fulton County at the courthouse in support of the fallen officer, James Thomas Jr.?
Well, we remember back in 2022 when this happened initially, Tom, there was quite a bit of distress and concern, of course, an outpouring of support, not only for this slain deputy, but also his family, because this actually, where it occurred, not too far from the sheriff's department. And so there was anytime you're dealing with a situation with a fallen officer, there is concern about what happened. And with these varying accounts of what transpired there, yes, in 22, you still have a situation where this prosecuting attorney is saying that no matter what happened there on the bridge, that Oliver's actions were irrational and nothing justified the shooting, the murder charges now that this gentleman, Mr. Oliver, faces and is being accused of, which is why the prosecuting attorney is urging this jury to return a guilty verdict.
Well, we know you're watching it for us. We're waiting for the jury to come back with their decision, and you're there at the courthouse waiting for that. Deidre Dukes, we'll see you tonight, of course, on the broadcast at 4, 5, and 6 on Fox 5 News. Thanks so much for joining us here on the stream here on Fox Local. Deidre, thanks. Have you ever been to the airport trying to go for a flight or been waiting for your flight to leave and they say, well, we're waiting for the flight attendants, or we don't have enough staff to get you where you need to go in the airport, some logistical problems as we take a live look at Hartsfield-Jackson? Well, that may be solved in the form, at least partially, of a new app that's coming out to help airport employees get to where they need to go on airport property. We got that story coming up. You've also heard of conditions of animal shelters here in our state. There's some help on the way from our friends up in the Northeast. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for streaming with us here in the 3 o'clock hour. I'm Tom Haynes, live in the Fox 5 newsroom. We've been spending the last hour getting you up to speed on our top stories here in our area. We talked about the president, too, who's leaving for Anchorage, Alaska to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin for a high-stakes summit to end the war in Ukraine. Want to talk about our own airport, the world's busiest airport, Hartsfield-Jackson International, and the ability to move employees around there. Can you imagine the logistical undertaking it is to get people where they need to be? Well, a new app has been set up. It's up and running now to help employees get around, and it may help you get in and out of the airport in a more timely fashion. Eli Jordan is at the airport to tell us about this new app, the new technology, and this big initiative out there. Eli?
Hey, Tom. Yeah, I'm out here by runway 28. Maybe we'll get a plane or two landing out here if all things work out. But yeah, today, the Atlanta ATL Airport Community Improvement Districts, along with the rideshare tech company, they unveiled Shift. They call it Shift on Demand, and what that is if you're an airport employee and you need a ride to work, you download this app, and the only stipulation is it has to be, your destination has to be South Cargo or the Atlanta airport, and then you dial in that, and they'll come pick you up, take you to work. You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry about paying parking fees, and you don't have to worry about your car being broken down, or if you got a flat tire or whatever. And what this is it's a micro transit app to help airport employees get to and from work. Now, when you're leaving home, your destination has to be South Cargo or the airport. But if you live inside the service area, they'll take you straight on home, and then you can find out the map at shift-atl.com. But I spoke to the AACID events coordinator, and this is what she had to say.
It's going to be a game changer for airport employees. We know that a lot of these jobs, these workers work overnight shifts, and that's when public transportation is not available. MARTA is not running in the overnight hours. So the microtransit service that we're going to provide is going to really close the gap on those operational hours for the workers in this area.
Have there been grievances, concerns about transportation to work and also parking situations and things like that?
Absolutely. A lot of the workers that work these airport jobs don't make high income, so the parking fees are absolutely out of pocket for them. It's really expensive. So a lot of them rely on public transportation, again, that's not available in the overnight hours. So this microtransit is going to really help, again, fill that gap to make sure they can get to work in an affordable manner. We're actually providing this service for 2 years, absolutely free of charge.
For free?
For free.
That's a big deal. What kind of reaction have you gotten from airport employees about this so far?
Thus far, we've had a real positive reaction. We've had overnight riders already for this service. We've only been launched for just a week. We know that it's going to continue to grow as the word gets out.
Again, that was Crystal Harris, operations manager of the AACID. And yes, it's a big deal. They got a really good reaction. This launched just last week, and they already have a bunch of participants. And like she said, they expect more and more to join in. That's a really good deal, Tom. I wouldn't mind a free ride to work, not have to worry about gas or even paying attention,
Well, who's picking up the cost of this? It's a great initiative, as you said, especially for people who have to pay for parking.
Well, right now it's a 2-year pilot program, and eventually, it's a 2-year pilot program, and it's, I think the next 2 years will be, get everybody on board, and then they're going to start easing in the fees and things like that.
So who's behind this? Is it one of the rideshare companies that we know, like Lyft or Uber, or is this an independent organization?
Well, it's VIA. They're a transit tech company, and it's the Atlanta Airport Improvement Districts, along with VIA, and they have combined together to put this, for the rideshare for the employees of the airport to get to and from work. So and for the next 2 years, it's free, but after that, it's not going to be free after that.
2 years is a long time. 2 years is a long time to pocket money that you'd otherwise, as you said, be spending on gas and parking, which can be a challenge there at Hartsfield-Jackson. You got
parking is very expensive,
horrible
absolutely.
Traffic, which you're going to be sitting in anyway, but that might help sort of loosen things up a little bit and be really, really good for these employees who are trying to get to and from work. So it's 2 years. It's free for now. And is there any parameter restrictions? In other words, do you have to live within a certain circumference of the airport?
Yeah, and if you go to shift-atl.com, you will find a map of their service area to where they will take. Yeah, that's their service area, and it like borders. North border is just north of the airport, just north, and then all the way down to like Riverdale. And so if you go to shift-atl.com, you can find that map for the employees, and they can find the service area and see exactly where they are. But it covers mainly a great area south of the airport.
Yeah.
Around the Riverdale area and along South 85 and 75 there.
One more question, Eli, before I
in
let
between
you go.
the split.
Gotcha. Good
Right
info. Is this just for airport employees, or if I work for Delta Airlines, can I call this service to come pick me up to come to work?
This is for airport employees. You know, again, like this is for the South Cargo people and you know, people that work within the airport. This is for the ATL airport employees.
All right. A big cost savings for those folks, and a welcome one at that, I'm sure. Eli Jordan with this new innovation down at ATL. Eli, thanks. Well, you've heard about the crowded conditions at our animal shelters and the appeals to come adopt animals. It is a desperate situation in many cases. A lot of animals have to wind up getting euthanized. Too many dogs, too many cats, too few people adopting. About 24 animals, we understand. This is from our Doug Evans, who's down in this area, are going to get a lifeline with the help of Pilots to the Rescue and the employees of Hearts. This is the pet care company. They flew into Falcon Field in Peachtree City to help these animals and to spare their life at the end of the day, really. They picked up 26 cats and dogs from some of the most overcrowded shelters, animals that might have been euthanized because nobody's adopted them, and they're going to bring them to rescue groups in New York and New Jersey, where apparently there's more space. So look at how cute these little animals are. Gosh, who wouldn't want to adopt some of these dogs? They're so cute, and they're just looking for a home. So sweet. We talked to one of the pilots who's involved in this rescue. Listen to what she had to say.
The need for these missions stems from how overrun and underfunded shelters tend to be down south. So we get involved as much as possible to be able to transport them to better situated shelters up north and rescue organizations.
And they stand a better chance for adoption.
Absolutely, yes. Up north, they're able to at least get them into shelters that are better equipped to take them on and then foster them out, or there's just more people available to foster them.
Gratifying?
It is the most unbelievable thing in the world to be able to combine something that I love doing, flying planes, and helping animals on top of loving animals. So yes, I'm very grateful to do this.
How well do they fly?
They are a little bit barky in the beginning, but once we get up to altitude, they're sound asleep. So it's painless for everybody.
Have you ever found true love on one of these flights?
Every flight, I am falling in love with one of these animals, and I would be overrun in my own apartment if I kept them all. Right now, I'm not well positioned to be able to adopt because I fly so frequently, so I'm just never home. But one day soon, I will be bringing home a Pilots to the Rescue save.
Okay, great. How many are you transporting today?
Today we have about 26, at least 26, if not more.
What is the most interesting dog you've ever transported? A Great Dane or what?
The most interesting dog I've ever transported was a wolf.
A wolf?
They were hybrid wolf dogs, and coming out of just an awful hoarding situation that we were able to relocate down south to a beautiful sanctuary. And I follow them on Instagram. They're really living their best lives. It's incredible.
These animals sounds like kids on the plane, a little barky and meowy at first, but then they settle down with the hum of the engines. These couple of dozen animals are en route to New York, thanks to the generosity of these pilots. It is a nonprofit organization. You can find out more about them and their work nationwide. This is not only happening in our area, but all over the country. And we've posted that on our website, fox5atlanta.com. Still much more ahead. It's 1:45 now, but we're not going anywhere. We want you to stay with us here in the Fox 5 newsroom. I'm Tom Haynes. We'll be right back. Chris, you got me? It's Tom Haines.
Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
Great, great, great.
I hear you.
Great. Welcome back to the Fox 5 Atlanta Newsroom, everybody. I'm Tom Haines. Thanks so much for streaming with us on Fox Local, on your mobile device, at home, or if you're watching us on our YouTube channel or on the radio, 107.9 HD2 FM. Welcome to you as well. We've been spending the last hour getting up to date on the day's top stories as they happen here. We all the time talk about AI, how it's going to revolutionize our lives. It feels like news is coming in every day about the efficiencies of AI, not to mention new techs that's changing the way we drive. Chris Rosenthal is at an annual Clean Energy Roadshow at Gwinnett Technical College this afternoon. This is an interactive event, Chris, we understand, sort of previewing the future of automotives, and you get to kind of touch and feel these things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty cool event. You know, this was the last day of this. This is a Clean Energy Roadshow hosted by the Public Service Commissioner, and they had this event in Savannah, Macon, and today in the Metro Atlanta area. And it was a chance for people in the automotive industry and also people in the in local governments to come out and take a look at some of the different technologies, different fleet technologies. You know, we're not just talking about regular road cars here, but we're also talking about things like buses, things like garbage trucks, police cars, any of those sort of vehicles that the government uses, that your taxpayer dollars pay for. They had some of those vehicles here on display. Some of those sources of energy, things like compressed natural gas, renewable natural gas, electric, of course, hybrid. One of the things I learned here is one of the fleets that's actually making a lot of headway in this is DeKalb County. They've already adopted a lot of compressed natural gas (CNG) vehicles, and they say they're saving a lot of money already on this. I also talked to Tim Eccles, the Public Service Commissioner, and a fleet manager from DeKalb County, and here's what they had to say.
15 years we've been doing the Clean Energy Roadshow, letting fleets like DeKalb County, Rockdale County, all these metro counties know about the alternative to traditional diesel and gasoline. So we've got a variety: propane, hydrogen, liquefied natural gas, and of course electric.
Why is this so important?
It's important because regulations are getting tougher and tougher for diesel, and it costs more to run these trucks, and obviously they contribute to a lot of pollution. And when you replace it with something so clean as any of these alternatives, it just makes a difference in Atlanta's smog.
As you already know, the cost of everything is going up, including purchasing vehicles as well. So when you look at the cost savings for purchasing a CNG vehicle over a gasoline or diesel vehicle, the cost savings and maintenance will surpass that in the future.
What kind of cost savings?
Well, it just depends. You probably can figure on one vehicle alone, it may cost between $15,000 to $20,000 a year on diesel and maintenance to run that one vehicle, where with a CNG unit, it's a fraction of that, because CNG units don't really break down the way a gas or diesel truck does.
Does this mean a cost saving to the taxpayers?
Definitely for the taxpayers, definitely. You look at the productivity of it. You want the vehicles to be running. When they're down, you can't service the citizens and the businesses of DeKalb County.
Electric vehicles, and there's more on the way. So I mean, I think we can all agree that cost savings is a good thing, and keeping those vehicles on the road with little interruption. One of the other things interesting that I sat in one of the sessions and they were talking about was what they call RNG, renewable natural gas, and that's actually using certain things like manure, and they're doing this in certain places in Georgia, manure, or even manure from farms with cows, or even from poultry farms, and using that to create fuel and vehicles that can run on that. So that's an interesting preview of what may be to come for this clean energy industry.
Chris, did they talk about AI at all? Because the other day, I'm on the second floor of my home, and the sanitation folks came around to collect the trash. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, how long before this is a completely automated process? In other words, no drivers, no collection personnel, a driverless waste garbage truck is going to pull up in front of the house, an arm is going to go out, it's going to take my trash can and put it in and then move on. Did they talk about like AI and the effects of that kind of technology?
I didn't hear much talk about AI. It was more about the fuel end. I mean, certainly, you know, we've seen those driverless rideshare vehicles. So, you know, maybe that's something to come in the future. I don't know. It didn't. I didn't hear that necessarily coming up today. But another interesting thing, just to note, by the way, with electric vehicles, there is an EV tax credit that runs out on September 30th.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about getting an electric vehicle or a hybrid, that's something you may want to consider.
Was electric part of that conference? So you talked about clean natural gas. Was battery-powered vehicles part of it too?
Yep, and they have battery-powered vehicles on display as well. A lot of that seems to be more for the smaller vehicles, for the pickup trucks and things like that. You know, the CNG seems to be more for for the diesel, the bigger bigger trucks, the buses and things like that, and those sort of vehicles. The electric seems to be focused more for the pickup trucks that you might see government workers driving around, that sort of thing, and also hybrid. That's also still very popular. There, I think Rockdale County I saw had an electric vehicle out here, and so a lot of counties and municipalities are adopting those as well.
Yeah, well, it's happening on so many levels. There at the Gwinnett Technical College, where you are, seeing the next generation of alternatively fueled vehicles coming out, and that guy said it there. He's like, this is going to, at the end of the day, save us money, and then hopefully that will be passed on to taxpayers in the form of saving on fuel charges. But that's just step one in this whole process. We will have to wait to see how AI impacts this and workforce changes and things like that. So much happening there. Chris Rosenthal, thank you so much for showing us what's happened there and what may be on the horizon in terms of clean energy and our public works vehicles. We want to take you back to Fulton County. We heard from Deidre Dukes earlier on the trial of a man accused of murdering an off-duty Fulton County officer. We're looking at verdict watch here. It is 5 minutes to 4 in the Fulton County Courthouse, where Alton Oliver is waiting to learn his fate. He's accused of shooting James Thomas Jr. back in 2022. We talked about this case with Deidre and the fact that Alton Oliver took the stand in his own defense, something that can be unusual for murder suspects to do, with the risk of incriminating themselves on the stand. Well, he did. And he said that this whole thing was a case of self-defense, Alton Oliver did, that he and James Thomas Jr.'s were in some sort of a relationship, according to the defendant, and then they got into a skirmish, and then it ended in the death of this off-duty Fulton County officer. So we're, like I said, we're on verdict watch. Our Deidre Dukes is there inside the courtroom waiting for the jury to come back with their verdict. And as soon as they do, you'll know about it here either on Fox Local, our digital channels, or of course when you join us for Fox 5 News at 4 on the broadcast channel, Fox 5 News, coming up here in just about 3 minutes. As we leave you, we want to take you live to Washington now and show you a live picture of the White House, where we heard from President Trump not too long ago, just before we started streaming with you here in the 3 p.m. hour, live from the Oval Office, talking about his upcoming summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin. A high-stakes game of chess is how the president referred to it. This is happening in Anchorage, Alaska tomorrow. And this is a story that's going to really affect all of us here in trying to end the war in Ukraine. The United States has sent billions of dollars over to Europe and now is funding this effort with Ukraine through NATO. We're going to learn so much more here in the coming day as the president heads up to Alaska to meet with Putin. Fox 5 News at 4 is next. Thanks so much for streaming with us today. I'm Tom Haynes, and we'll see you right back here in the Fox 5 newsroom tomorrow.